For the Shake Shack. Thanks a lot, Nicole. All right, guys, here to help us out, we brought the A-team. Dani Hughes, Divine Capital CEO, is back with us, and she's just been honored by Trader Magazine as one of the best women-owned brokerages in America. I think you were number one.
Yeah,
Look at that trophy. Congratulations. Hey, Scotty Nell Hughes, TPNN.com news director.
International developments, they said, international growth slowing. How in the world are you going to raise rates with all this going on just because we have a couple more jobs out there? It made no sense to me. I think we bounce back big tomorrow.
And to his point, I mean, here's a headline. Fed continues to signal rate hike in 2015. Dani, I don't see it. I mean, I guess they're judging that one line, patience, to mean two meetings or 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question because I think a lot of people were saying after they came out that this was a hawkish presumption by the Fed. But, you know, I've kind of said all along that I don't think they're going to raise rates in 2015 because I think they're just not going to raise rates until they see an overflow. You know, the Fed is the last resort. You know, they're just not going to raise rates until something drastic happens. And with all that's happening in the Eurozone, with all that pullback, and there's a lot of actual acceleration of help in some countries like Canada and Britain, et cetera. So I just think that we're actually jumping the gun a bit.
What about oil, though? That durable goods number, we're going to have a massive, in my mind, a massive revision to that third quarter. It won't be 5%. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like in a two, has a two handle. I don't know.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I think that, you know, those numbers are always very malleable. So, you know, one thing that I like to see, too, is, you know, our currency, the dollar, has been massively inflated versus the Eurozone. And that is hurting about 50% of the S&P 500 because they get their earnings from overseas.
The profits, that's been, they don't care. Google, Amazon, these guys have been spending gazillions of dollars for a long time, and they don't really care about the bottom line.
Look at stock, though. The stock goes nowhere.
Finally, they've gone nowhere.
But, you know, you look at the users on mobile, and Facebook accounts for 20% of the users on mobile.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. They beat everybody hands down.
Daily average users, 745 million, up 34%. Our next real deal, the consumer is 2/3 of the economy. We seem to forget that sometimes when we want, you know, we want corporate America to save us. Can a consumer do it? Is it far-fetched, Dani?
Consumers have been doing it in each cycle before this, you know, and we can see it in the numbers of industrial and manufacturing production, which actually were up over the last 12 months almost 5%, which is a phenomenal number. So we watch this tick by tick and we get confused. Oh my gosh, it was down. Oh my gosh, it was up. But when you pull back and take a look at how far we've come, it's pretty phenomenal as your chart.
I love the consumer.
Dani, you deal with a lot of individuals as well as institutions. We know there's a different mindset, although a lot of times there's not. Sometimes they all kind of have the same emotional triggers.
Right, that's right. And those are two great examples, and they also pay dividends. And you know, so they're paying you to wait and look at that long haul. So some companies that don't pay you to wait, and maybe your growth companies like Facebook, which we all talked about a little bit earlier, which I own as well. You know, I think that the long haul, you've got to keep your eye on the ball for you can't look at these little data points over time.
I remember one day, are these guys being hard-headed, Dani, these oil executives who just keep pumping it out, even though prices are coming down, even though some of them are now at the point where they're losing money? Is this a smart business decision, or should they pull back the reins?
No, I mean, you know, these big companies, they don't really care about the price of oil right this second because they've hedged all of this stuff way beyond. So they might be selling $70 oil right now. Companies like British Petroleum, which we talked about last week, which I own, stock is actually up in the last week or so. And they're paying you to wait as well. So, you know, there are pockets where you should be a long-term investor and being paid to wait because, frankly, global energy growth is just going to continue to grow and grow over time.
So if you saw a company that cut production, that would be more of a red flag than those guys who just keep producing.
Yeah, the smaller guys are going to get clocked, but it's an opportunity for the bigger guys to come in, and they've got deeper pockets.
Yeah,
they can impose on people.
Dani, isn't it a proven fact, though, people who suffer from social anxiety have to smoke a lot of weed?
That is true.
I wouldn't know, actually. But you know, the thing that
well, why do you smoke a lot?
The thing that shocks me so much, to your point, Scotty, is they're getting fined for the hats they wear and grabbing their crotch, but yet battering their wives and doing all of these terrible things that are actually such a terrible reflection on the NFL. That kind of stuff just, you know, Rice got passed by last year.
They did a little.
We've got a quote for you. That one's looking higher. I still like it a lot. Do you follow? You guys follow this one?
Yeah. I mean, their annual revenue growth is over 18%, and they say that it's because of their 40G Ethernet adoption.
No debt on this company either, too, which I love.
Israeli company was supposed to be taken over 2 years ago for like $150 a share. It never materialized.
Hang on a second, because I am a professional leftist here. I'm a flaming liberal, and I actually do believe in global climate change because essentially it's the carbon emissions that are wrecking the planet.
So what should be done about it? Should developing nations not use cheap coal to develop their countries?
What we have to do is make efficiencies happen, and we're doing that in a lot of places, and that technology is coming from America, and what we have to do is get the rest of the world
Dani, come on.
adopt it.
That's not enough for